Good morning and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Happy Thanksgiving. As we continue looking at Psalms of Thanksgiving and approach the Thanksgiving holiday, we get an important insight with Psalm 68. Life isn't an achievement of our own ends, but dependent on God. Indeed, dependence on God is the very heart of thanksgiving, and that means that we realize who we are and who God is, and how much we need God and how much God does for us. Psalm 68 is known as the most difficult of all the Psalms to interpret and translate. In fact, it uses many rare words, so there aren't many opportunities to confirm what some words mean by looking at how they are used elsewhere. And to be honest, it is a strong psalm about giving thanks to God, but it is also about many other things too. I've chosen not to read all of it for you today, and I'm going to read only the last few verses, starting with verse 32. Sing to God, O kingdoms of the earth. Sing praise to the Lord. O rider in the heavens, the ancient heavens, listen. He sends out his voice, his mighty voice. Ascribe power to God, whose majesty is over Israel and whose power is in the skies. Awesome is God in his sanctuary, the God of Israel. He gives power and strength to his people. Blessed be God. Now, I chose those verses for a particular reason, but let me tell you first about some of the things the psalm says in the verses we skipped. Early in the psalm, it talks about how God protects and provides for God's people. Then it moves to remind us that God does everything the people need, starting with the Exodus and going through other key biblical events. Then it reminds us that God is. All these things are worthy of inspiring our gratitude and our thanksgiving. But even more, this psalm moves along geographically. It moves from Sinai to Jerusalem, speaking how God has acted to bless and save. And this tells us that God is active in place and time. And for us, we know that Jesus is God active in person too. What's more, we believe that God is active now through the Holy Spirit. And we thank God for all our blessings. And as we do, have we ever stopped to thank God for being God? Throughout this psalm, God is pictured as a mighty warrior, fighting enemies and protecting the people. But God is also pictured acting with love and compassion, seeking justice for the needy. But the reason I chose the verses that I did was because of how often they talk about God's power and might. The psalm cries out to God for how the people need God, and God responds in power and might. That's a blessing we can be thankful for. God acts on our behalf, and there's nobody better to have on our side. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.